2, 3.
Ciao all you, it's your boy AXN. Today I want to talk about a little bit about the controversy that is basically ruining Twitter, ruining Twitter for us in the FGC right now. And that's basically Capcom coming out and telling everybody that they changed the rules for how controllers have to work in a tournament environment, like from Street Fighter 6 onward. It's not every controller out there, but especially like the custom ones and the controllers that most of the controllers that have basically a fighting board, a Brook fighting board. And what is happening? So first and foremost, what is it all about? The new rule is about SOCD cleaning. If you're tuning in this channel, probably you already know what SOCD cleaning is, but if you don't, I'm gonna explain it quickly. Basically, SOCD cleaning, it's a method to basically clean the inputs when people input simultaneous opposite cardinal direction on a controller, right? Basically, the opposite cardinal direction are like back and forward, up and down, all right? Some controllers that most people use right now, a lot of people are using right now, have like all button layouts. So you don't have a lever or a D-pad, for example, right? These are called all button controllers, but you may know it as hitboxes and stuff like that, like similar stuff to hitboxes. And on those controllers, you can basically hit two opposing cardinal direction at the same time, up and down, back and forth. And up until now, basically up until a couple of days ago, the general rule for tournament legality of these controllers was that you had to have an SOCD cleaning on board, on a hardware level, on the controller. And the method should have been like this. So you had to have back and forward pressed together at the same time resulted in neutral, so your character wouldn't move at all, and down and up will result in up, so up will always win over the down input, right? And this has been the case for forever, basically, and most of the circuit boards that go into this kind of controllers already have this method pre-built inside them. And the reasoning behind the need of having controller have this kind of cleaning on board was that not every game actually manages it in a software way. So some games have SOCD cleaning software side, like basically built into the game. And this is important because console controllers, like regular controllers, like what the fuck is that? Like this one, right? These kind of controllers don't have SOCD cleaning on board. They basically send whatever input you do on it to the game. And on this kind of controllers, you could do simultaneously opposite cardinal direction inputs, because you could do up with or down with the D-pad and up with the analog stick, right? And in that case, the game would do the job for you. And in the case of Street Fighter 5, I think the second input always won. So if you were holding back and then you input forward with the other control, like if you held back with the D-pad and then you hit forward with the analog stick, you got forward. And we saw some example of players that use this method to have basically perfect charging and not wasting any frames, not charging for charging move. A great example was NuckleDo, that famously did this on his PS4 controllers. And It's both for sonic booms and also for fresh kicks, because it went both ways. Like the game handled simultaneous control inputs like this, like last input wins. But all of this wasn't accounted for by game developers and stuff, like tournament organizers and stuff, until the all button controllers became really popular, and that kind of method was really advantageous for that kind of controllers, especially for charge characters users, right? But then what happened? They said that the legal way of doing it was to have hardware SOCD cleaning on board built into the controller that handled it the usual way. So it was neutral for back and forward, and up for down and up together. They made that made easy for everybody who played charge characters to do very efficient down up charge moves. And it was cool and all, but I don't think it gave any excessive advantage to anybody. We didn't see Daigo win tournaments because of that, all right? Now, in Street Fighter 6, they implemented SOCD cleaning into the game because probably they wanted some control on it, right? And what did they do? They had to change the rules, because if you have hardware-based SOCD cleaning on your controller, the game engine can do nothing about it. It cannot handle the SOCD cleaning itself, because the only input that receives from the controller is the one that results after the onboard programming has been resolved. Basically, if I held all of my controllers, which is an Ultimate Fighting board by Brook, if I hold up and down, it will only send the up input to the game. And at that point, any kind of implementation of SOCD cleaning on game side would do basically nothing. Can do nothing, because the only thing that reads is up. Okay. So this meant that they had basically everybody scramble to find a solution, right? To be able to participate to Street Fighter 6 events with a legal controller, right? Even if I don't really know how tournament organizers would ever be able to check everybody's controller for that. I don't know if that is possible, or I don't know. It's crazy. For me, it's a crazy request. Anyway, everybody wanted a solution. And so Brook, for example, and I think at this point also Hitbox, issued updates for firmwares on their boards that made possible to have this new tournament legal version of the SOCD cleaning, which basically is every couple of opposite cardinal direction results in neutral. So it's back and forward results in neutral, down and up results in neutral. Okay. That is why the reason because why they requested this kind of SOCD cleaning method is it because it's the same that they implemented inside the Street Fighter 6 game. So Street Fighter 6 has this kind of SOCD cleaning method. Every opposite direction results in neutral. Okay. This is so weird because they did it to have parity. At least this is my understanding, right? They did it to have parity between controllers, because in that way, if you handle on board the SOCD cleaning like the game itself handles it, it means that you handle it the same way a regular console controller gets handled by the game, right? So that way everybody has the same SOCD cleaning method. But the thing is, controllers are built differently and allow for different things and have different advantages. So having a rule one rule for every controller is it's not that smart actually. So basically what they did is try to make everything equal, and maybe they like nerfed a little bit the advantages that you had with charge characters on all button controllers, but that's not all of it. We've seen in many games, not only Street Fighters, that many of the shortcuts and like the tricks that you can do with this kind of controller come from the actual other SOCD cleaning. So the back and forth resulting in neutral gives access to more tricks than the other one, than the down up resulting in up. So that means that they allowed for new stuff to come up with all button controllers. And immediately we had like a proof of this, because I'll let you see that Hitbox like went online and tweeted this video, which shows what is possible with this new kind of SOCD cleaning. Look at that. So you can so basically they allowed like wave dashing and shit in Street Fighter, because if you get neutral, as the guy from Hitbox is showing, with up and down, you can basically do all sorts of super fast dashes back and forward, like super easy Dragon Punch inputs by doing like holding the buttons and not like moving your fingers in any way. You can just do like down, forward, and up in succession, and having them all like pressed down and hitting a button to do a DP, which is almost instant. So in my opinion, they screw it up, because many all button controllers players are like laughing their asses out, because they're gonna do some naughty shit with this. So the parity that they looked for was not a parity of actually a parity of how can I say it? A parity of controller advantages, right? They only obtain a paper parity on SOCD cleaning methods, but results are different for different controllers. So it is weird. It is weird. I don't know what you can do to have like the more. I'm sorry. Yeah, my allergy. Apologize. I don't know what you can do to alleviate this, like, let's call it disparities between controllers. But I think the controller is just a choice, right? And if you choose to have a controller that has on board some way of cleaning your inputs, right? That's the one that you should use. Probably I don't know. There's no easy way to do this, because maybe the only thing you could do is having no SOCD cleanings hardware-wise on any controller, right? And let every game handle the cleaning as the developer wants to, right? But that in this case would result in the same thing, right? You would have this same input clean method for every controller in the case of Street Fighter 6, because I don't think the game itself can understand which kind of controller is like connected to the console or to the PC or whatever, and change the SOCD cleaning method for each different kind of controller, right? In my opinion, the way it was before, it was pretty okay, right? Because yes, you had some advantages charging like down up charge moves, but whatever. Nobody has won tournaments with all button controllers just because of that. The same way, I don't think that this kind of shit that we just saw on Twitter will allow some players to win tournaments. The thing that I always said, that the controller doesn't make the player. There is no, well, fuck. We saw in the past in Street Fighter 4, we saw Smug do stupid things with the Xbox 360 controllers using the analog stick, which is one of the fucking worst way of playing fighting games I've ever seen one. It's very difficult. I tried once. It's almost impossible to be precise with that controller on fighting games, and he did it because that's the way he learned to play the game, right? Everybody learns to play the game the way they want, and if they are godlike at the game, it's not because of the controller. Not at all. The controller might like iron out some of your some of your deficiencies. For example, I'm very imprecise with the fight stick. It's difficult for me to hit precise diagonal inputs, right, and not getting just forward or vice versa. It's difficult for me to get a precise forward input without like sometimes hitting also down, right? And now now it has been 12 years since I switched to all button controllers for that very reason, because I feel more in control of what I'm doing, right, with an all button controller, because I know when I'm like hitting down and forward at the same time. I'm sure of it because there are two buttons, right? It's more precise for me. There are also disadvantages of playing all button controllers. For some inputs, stick is better. For some inputs, the gamepad is better. It's a trade-off, and it's a choice. It's just what makes a good player is everything but controller, I would say. It is his mind, it's composure, its knowledge of the game, its reaction times, everything but the controller. There are some important aspects of controllers that don't influence the level of gameplay you're at, but maybe influence your health, for example. Some controllers are more ergonomic than others. In the long run, they may cause less damage to your hands in the long run. Some controllers are more durable than others, so the controller itself may last you a long time compared to maybe a regular Xbox or PlayStation controller that are not designed to withstand the amount of energy that a fighting games require, right? the amount of stress, mechanical stress that fighting games player put on those controllers. So controllers are like variety of controllers is important for very, very many different reasons, but not the quality of your gameplay. That's one thing that is just on you and the work that you put in. That's all. So this was a mess, a mediatic mess from Capcom, just because the way they put it is they communicated wrong. They said that they wanted to keep out the advantages of using all button controllers, which is not what they did, right? They should have said, well, we wanted just to have one SOCD cleaning method for everybody. All right, it's still a mess because you had to make two companies like run and make new firmwares for everybody's controllers, and like people were panicking. What do? I just paid like $300 for or whatever currency you paid it for this controller, and now I can't go to a Street Fighter 6 tournament, right? It just caused panic for very useless reasons, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents about the whole situation here. I just think that, yeah, there are maybe some instances in which some shortcuts should be like avoided. For me, the only reason that counts, that matters, and probably there's a good reason for it, is that the controllers shouldn't have more than one button for the same input, especially directions. Because attacks, doesn't matter how many buttons you have for attacks, they're just the same. But the real advantages comes when you have like different buttons for the same directional input, like 2 ups and 2 downs and 2 lefts and 2 rights in positions that make some of the execution much more easy and much more efficient, right? The hitbox cross-up is a great example of it. I don't think the cross-up should be legal, but I don't see anybody winning tournaments because of that anyway. Because you know, execution is just a barrier that if you want, you can overcome, right? So if somebody overcomes it like cheating, if you want to say so, he's still not gonna win Evo for doing that. It's most likely that the person that really worked hard to get there with the execution and stuff is much more possible for that guy to win Evo than for the person that cheated or like made his life easier, right? I don't see any problem with all this stuff. This wouldn't have been necessary by Capcom, but you know they did. We have a different method of SOCD cleaning for our controllers, and maybe we could have fun finding out new shortcuts and new stuff that you can do with it. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you everybody for listening, and see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao, belly.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome to the world of fighting games, conversation, freestyle talk to people across the nation.